Hi, I'm Amy McKnight, Mac mentor and founder of the Mac Spa. I have been using and supporting Apple products and helping people with their technology needs for over 20 years. And one of the other things I really enjoy and look forward to after a long day of busting my brain at work is happy hour. So, in this new video series, I'll be interviewing my friends and colleagues over happy hour while we're discussing a tech topic. So, I hope you'll have a drink with us and enjoy the show, and maybe you'll even learn something new.
Tonight at 9:21 p.m., it will be the 21st minute of the 21st hour of the 21st day of the 21st year of the 21st century.
Cool. Today's guest, I have Steve Karowski, who also is a whiskey fan.
Drinking fan, whiskey fan, booze fan.
And today's happy hour is featuring...
We're drinking some bonded rye whiskey from Law's Whiskey House here in Denver.
Fantastic.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers. The reason I wanted to talk to you today is that we've known each other a while. We know each other through my husband, and you've worked together with some marketing projects and art projects and things of that nature. And we always have good conversations. We have music conversations. And I know that you're a music lover, so music streaming and digital music hasn't really come out until the 2000s. So for those of us that can remember before the 2000s, we experienced music differently. And I'd like to talk about that a little bit.
I'm glad you brought this up because I hadn't really thought about the timeline and the progression of music in the last 20 years much, right? It's just sort of happened, and then you look where you are, and then you kind of think about it, and so much has changed. It happened kind of slowly, it felt like, and yes, there was lots of things to read and pay attention to while it happened, but the gigantic shift in the last 25 years, everything it's completely different.
Right, so it's almost like we didn't notice it happening.
It's kind of like when your puppy grows up and one day you're like, oh, my dog's big.
How do you get
Look
so
at
big,
that.
right? But I remember listening to tapes and cassettes and radio and recording my own tapes off the radio and going to the music stores and buying music. And you'd look, sometimes I just buy something blind. Sometimes you didn't even know what you're buying. You just go in, well, I haven't heard this before, but the cover looks kind of cool,
First album I ever bought, the reason my mom bought it for me. I was like, I don't know, 5 or 6. But I could read Steve on the album, and it was a Steve Miller Band, and it had the flying horse on it. And I just thought it was cool, and it said Steve on it, so I made her buy it for me, and she did. And I listened to that thing over and over and over, millions of times. So yeah, like the way music's bought these days is totally different from pre-2000s, 70s, and 80s.
Right, you get to preview your music.
Yeah.
Listen to it. So now we have iTunes. iTunes came out in 2001, and iTunes kind of changed the music industry. So I don't know if you remember Napster and LimeWire.
Sure.
And those music peer sharing
That was
platforms.
kind of an overlap, it felt like, from record stores and owning your music into streaming it. And like there was a lot of unknowns and people didn't know how to use it. People were afraid of getting viruses a lot back then. But that was sort of the overlap. And that was my first experimentation in the digital consumption of music was Napster. I believe that was the first one. And then I think I listened to both of them. I don't remember if I had them both, 2 accounts at the same time or whatever, but...
Did you actually pay for it?
Well, no, but I think you had to sign... Did you have to sign up? I don't remember if you had to sign up on that. I think you could just start using it and just start loading music on there and sharing it.
Well, it started as peer sharing. So people were burning their music and then putting it up on these servers. And that's why you were prone to potentially viruses if people were maliciously uploading bad files or something. But basically it was just like you buy a CD and then you can share it with 10,000 people or whatever. So it kind of started as I'm going to just share my music with people. But when iTunes came along, it was like, no, we're going to make you buy the music now. And it somehow worked.
Well, you're also able to upload the music that you owned onto iTunes. And I spent a lot of time downloading or uploading my CDs that I had into my iTunes library because I wasn't listening to my CD player as much, and I was transferring over into the digital world, and I didn't want to lose my CD collection as far as listening, a catalog of listening music. So I remember uploading those one at a time onto my iTunes account, and then also renting or buying from there.
Right.
Well, I think it was buying at the first, and then after a while you could rent.
Do you remember when it was 99 cents a song?
Yeah.
Do you remember how you felt about that? Like, oh man, we got to buy our songs again, or like?
I think it was mixed. Like, it's like, great, there's bands where they have albums with like 2 good songs on it, and you'd have to go spend $12 on a CD to get 2 songs you liked. And now you could have much more efficient use of your money when it came to that and buy those 2 songs.
Right. You can just buy a song at a time.
And then the albums, I remember being like $9.99 an album or something like that. But it took the whole experience of listening to an album completely away, where it just turned into a jukebox or a music, a radio station, something like that, where you listen to songs independently and you didn't listen to the whole album, which is losing an experience that the artist, I think, had a lot of intent.
Right.
Back in the day when they made music, they made an album. They're not. They just weren't releasing singles, and they put a lot of thought into the flow and how they lined up their songs, I think.
I did think about that, but I wonder if musicians now are not putting as much thought into the experience of the album, and it's more about let's get that
I don't
single.
think there's as much thought on that. I think some artists are doing that, but I think it's very much a consumption by song sort of thing these days. Like one song comes, like especially in the pop world, not necessarily music I listen to. I think those are kind of released in albums, and but I think just in the mainstream world, there's a lot of singles that come out because they're faster. You can just release them one at a time, and it's more powerful and probably generates more revenue than just releasing a whole album at a time.
Right. So do you still like to buy music on records and CDs, things like that?
I don't know. Like, I have a small vinyl collection. Some of it's old vinyl from my parents when I was a kid. I dug through the basement and took stuff that I liked. And I do go buy some new vinyl these days on some bands that I really like that will release stuff on vinyl, or maybe some classic punk albums that I want to just have to collect. But I really like the fact that my music collection doesn't take up a bunch of space right now.
True.
I mean, remember, you have your CD collection. If you had 100 CDs and you had to have them easily accessible, you'd have put them in those little books, and then you lose the covers, and then the CDs get scratched as you bring them in and out of your car, or you have to have a rack in your house next to your CD player. It just took up so much space.
Milk crates.
Yeah, just a lot of space, a lot of...
That's true. Yeah, we still have cabinets full of CDs.
Yeah.
Because we can't decide if we really want to get rid of them, because some of them we enjoy looking at the artwork. And
right.
It has the artwork and the lyrics in there, and it doesn't make any sense. But
I don't think it makes much sense to buy your collection. To collect a few things, yes. For an everyday music listener like me, I think the convenience now is way better than having a huge physical catalog or a library in your home.
That's a huge advantage.
Right. I do miss the days, though, of, making a mixtape and sharing with friends and discovering music from passed along mixtapes, or just a tape someone leaves in your car and you start listening to it or whatever. Like, there's a lot of music that I became huge fans of that way, accidentally.
Right.
So I missed some of that, for sure. I remember like calling the radio station when I was a young kid, requesting a song and waiting for the song to come on, and then hitting record so I can have the song on my cassette tape that I can listen to over and over like that, right? So I could just be ready. Or listening to Casey Kasem's Top 40.
I did that.
And recording your favorite songs on that and making your own mixtape from there. But now it's the discovery of music is totally different.
Right.
It's not the same as it used to be. You had to put a little bit more work into, I think, discovering, especially new music. There's so much out there, and to find something that is new and different, you gotta spend a little time doing
That's true.
it. And that's why I appreciate like some of the independent radio stations that we have in Denver that play the independent bands, the local bands. It gives you a lot of sampling of what's out there maybe that you don't have in your catalog or you're not finding through your friends or others. So I still appreciate a good radio station. And Kuvo, man, that's such a great, I love listening to Kuvo.
We do have some great radio stations here in Denver.
So we shouldn't forget about them.
Yeah. And I do feel that a lot of the streaming services don't have everything. They can't possibly have everything. So there are going to be those unique finds that you might only hear on the radio or from somebody's podcast. And I do appreciate learning about music from my friends.
And
so.
just because the algorithm thinks I'm going to like anything it puts in front of me, there's a lot it's missing that's not putting in front of me that I need to find somewhere else, right?
Right.
And on top of that, I'd miss a DJ sometimes telling me what's coming up and why they played that song. And I thought DJs were a good DJ, and just a little bit of context after their songs, I think, was really cool to have around. And that's pretty much.
I do like that. And I'm kind of from the old school, and how I watch TV too is I like having programming instead of just having to choose what I'm going to watch or what I'm going to listen to.
Yeah, having someone do that work for us is kind of nice.
It's like, it's the evening mood, so I'm going to play some evening music for you in your evening. And it's like, cool. Like I can just turn that on and not have to think about it too much. Yeah, with the streaming services, we've got Spotify, which we've talked about. And my husband and I share a Spotify. And I used to have Pandora, but I got tired of Pandora. And
was it the algorithm you got tired of? Was it just playing the same things? That's kind of what I felt with iTunes.
It felt like the library wasn't big enough, and it kept mixing the same songs across multiple of my playlists.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the ability to listen to a particular song. Spotify, I think, was the first one where you could choose a song or an album and listen exactly to what you want. Do you have a lot of experience with the different streaming services?
So was on iTunes for a really long time and experienced the same thing you did with Pandora.
Oh, with Apple Music.
Yeah, Apple Music. And I felt like it just, the playlists, I'd have several different playlists across genres, but they all just melted into each other because, once you like songs or whatever, it just keeps bringing that one up, and then you stop liking it because you hear it all the time. It's like stop it, and it just.
I do hate that when you hear something so much that you're like, I used to like this song. I want to like this song, but I can't.
And I think the algorithms, they kind of do that after you're on the same platform for a really long time.
Yeah.
So I did start a Spotify account, I don't know, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I've found some really good music on there that I wasn't finding on Apple Music, just because I think things were fresher. The algorithms weren't so ingrained on thinking it knew all my music. And I don't like a lot. Like, I'm not saying I like this song because I don't want it to like fall into that repeat. So I don't do that much, and it seems to help a little bit. But for some reason, Spotify, and I don't like this band, but they always think I want to listen to the Grateful Dead. Like, I don't know why, just because I'm like, just because I like rock and roll. It's like, just, you like this band, listen to the Grateful Dead. And I've said no 100 times, but it still keeps trying to spoon feed me that. And I don't know why, but
there's something going on with
a lot of people like them. I get it, but it's not something I want to put in my everyday playlists, and especially the kind of genres of music I listen to. It doesn't really match up.
Right.
So it misses on some of those accounts for sure.
I am on Apple Music now, but I actually don't listen to it very much. And I really appreciate putting together my own playlists. So I still buy music and put playlists together and do that. But it is nice to have a service there that you can just turn on when you're feeling lazy, or if you think of a particular thing you want to play. So I have Apple Music and I share the Spotify account. Don't have Pandora anymore. But I'm just really curious what other people are doing and what's working.
I'm really curious on what the next steps are going to be in this, right? Like, it seems like we've hit the point where everything is available. It's rentable as long as you pay your monthly fee. You can have access to all this. Like, where does it go from here?
Right.
So I'm not sure what the next steps are going to be in the evolution. Stuff that we probably don't even know exists, or at least I don't at this point. I'm curious on that.
Me too. And I feel like I'm looking for something that I can't put my finger on. You know, just figuring out how you listen. You know, I sometimes just want to listen to my own playlist and say, I know what's in this playlist. I'm going to press play on that. Versus the unknown of like, let's just see what Spotify has for me today or whatever. And sometimes I don't even think about a particular thing I want to listen to. So it's like too much work for me to be like, what do I want to listen to? I kind of just want to turn a switch on.
Well, that goes right back to like having a CD collection on your wall. Yeah. And you're like, okay, I need to listen to music. And you just stare at that collection. You're like, oh, what album am I going to listen to right now, right? And you have 100 CDs there. You listen to them all so many times. Like that decision can be paralyzing. Yeah. And then now you get your daily mixes and stuff put in front of you. It's like, what do I want? Like back in the day, you put on a radio station and the programming is there for you. Right. And it depends on how interactive you want to be. If you want it for background, it's a totally different approach and selection than if you want to be interactive with it. If you really want to like clean your house, like to me, that's way more than background music. I need something that's going to like, I'm going to, give me a little energy and get me around and, doing that kind of stuff. So selecting that music, like I think it seems like I'll clean the house and sometimes I'll just keep going and changing. It's just not quite vibing with what I want or fast forward or like, going to the next song.
That's where the algorithm can work because you can just say, give me something upbeat. Yeah. And it can give you the right mood sometimes.
I think that the convenience far outweighs the experience I had when I was younger of buying music and going through that. Like having what is now I think is better. It's a totally different way to consume it and pay for it and share it and all that. Like sharing was way more high maintenance when we were younger. Making mixtapes or actually handing something to somebody and getting it back if you ever wanted it back was hard sometimes. And you would lose a lot of music that you would buy. And so here, the convenience I think is way better. And if I spend $120 a year on renting music, that's less than I spent when I ever bought music.
And nobody can steal your CDs.
And no one can steal your CD. Break your window and steal all your CDs out of your car, which is the worst. That happens to everybody.
Yep. I think that happened to a few people I knew.
Right. So. And what's the use of a book of CDs with just the CDs and not the jewel cases where you go bring them to a pawn shop?
You have to store two things.
Right. So, they would just get stolen. Then you would just be musicless for a long time. And that was always a sad time.
Interesting times. Well, I do think that anybody who doesn't remember before digital music might be curious that, we were able to share a little bit what that was like. And I would be curious to know of people who have only done digital, what are you doing now? Like what's favorable, what's working for you?
Or if those people want to go retro and be more like have something to touch and be tangible, like having a record and a record player, or if a CD thing is anything of value.
I think there's definitely a market for that. I think, I don't remember what year it was, but it seems like only a couple of years ago, there was a huge boom in records and people buying records and producing records, and people still produce records.
But not cassette tapes or CDs. Like the record seems to be the one thing that keeps surviving. 8-tracks, cassettes, CDs really aren't a thing anymore.
There's still music stores with CDs.
But vinyl. But vinyl is the one that continues to survive, is the most interesting thing of that.
There's something about the sound people appreciate on vinyl, and I think audiophiles would say vinyl was like the superior recording.
A good needle, a good turntable, and a good piece of wax has a very deep sort of sound than you get from the digital platform.
But I think a lot of us are happy with our digital music, and we'll see what happens.
We really don't have a choice, though, do we? Like, this is the way the world is telling us this is how we're going to consume our music. So and it's a pretty good way to do it. So I'm not pushing back too hard.
So, did you want to share your Spotify playlist?
Yeah, I make a number of playlists, but one that I was sort of challenged with recently. Had my 50th birthday a few months ago, and a friend of mine asked me top 50 songs of my first 50 years, and I had 24 hours to put it together. Thank God I only had 24 hours, because I would still be working on that playlist right now.
I would have taken months.
Like it's impossible, right? Like, it's not the top 50 songs, but it's like songs from maybe the top 50 bands and the most influential songs in my upbringing, things that I remember, things that bring me back, things that just made me take more curiosity and bigger steps into my music exploration. So I put together a pretty awesome playlist for 24 hours. Got 50 songs for my first 50 years. And I've revisited it a number of times,
Cool.
just either on my own, or if there's people over, I just put it on because...
And I got to listen to it.
Yeah, you did the other day. We listened to it, right?
Yeah.
So that's a fun one, and I think we're going to share that. Hope people check it out and listen to it, and hope people like it.
Yeah.
If you don't
let us
like
know
it,
what you think.
that's fine too. But
we'll share this awesome playlist and see what the last 50 years sounded like. I appreciated it. I've learned a lot of about music from you, so...
Yeah, I think Eric, and
it.
I have had some really fun conversations around it, and we've turned each other on to lots of bands.
Mm-hmm.
We even had, not long ago, we had our burning disc thing where we
disc.
all brought CDs.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's
and
so
we
cool.
all uploaded them to our computers and
Yes.
shared music that way, which was a
still
super interesting way to do it.
Yes, I still have those playlists.
And you definitely, there's a number of bands that came out of that, because we had some other friends come with it too, and I don't know, there's like 7 or 8 people involved in that.
That was a turning point in digital music.
Yeah, that was like when we were first starting that.
Yes, yeah. I think that was before everybody was okay with just like spending that much money on buying all of their own collections. And we're just like, let's get together and burn CDs.
Man. And I think we were all sick of our own CDs, and we're like, we need new music. That was the start of the conversation. It was like, we're sick of my own music. Let's all trade some music. And we figured it out. We all brought our laptops to the same place, brought our CD collections, and we just went through everyone else's collection and burned what we wanted.
That's great.
But I think that's what the music industry doesn't want to happen anymore. That's too much free sharing.
Yes.
They want.
Yeah.
That's kind of.
I think artists. I think the good thing of it is the artists are getting paid. But yeah, if you want to have a retro burning disc party, there's the idea.
maybe we'll do one for fun.
That might be fun. I'm not opposed to burning discs. I still have a CD burner player. If
we could only find blank cassettes and a good double cassette deck.
I don't have
that would go
anymore.
Old school.
I don't like the tapes.
Yeah, well, there's nowhere to play them, and there's no good tapes that are around anymore. I'm glad to go through this whole musical evolution. Like, I think it was cool to be able to have all these tangible things growing up and experience that. Like having an album, listening to an album and looking at an album cover and then having the lyric sheet come out, and like that was something, right? Like
I looked for those lyrics.
Yeah.
If I didn't have the lyrics, I would listen to the song over and over and over again and write them down.
Some songs I would do that.
Yeah, keep backing up and keep write it down. What do you say? And back it up again. But yeah, now you can just look it up. It's just, it's right there. So there's convenience.
But like on Spotify, not every song, in fact, I would say less than 50% of the songs don't supply lyrics on Spotify. You have to leave the platform and go online and then get the lyrics. I think it'd be cool, like if they just had them, if you can just punch on the lyrics right there.
I think Apple Music, it's right there.
I think they did a better job at that than Spotify is.
But anyhow, thanks for having this conversation. I thought it was fun, and I am interested to see what happens. Maybe we should revisit this in a couple years and whatever the next step could be. In the meantime, let's put on a record and finish our drinks. Yeah, sounds good. And I hope you like the playlist. Yeah, we'll look for that Spotify playlist. All right, cheers. Thanks, Steve. Thank you. It was fun. And that's a wrap. Thank you for joining us today. For more about the MacSpa, go to themacspa.com, or for tech tips, go to youtube.com/themacspa. If you have a great idea for a tech topic you'd like to hear about, please leave it in the comments. See you next time.